Very good. I'll jump back in. We have an additional follow-up from Jim Bent as well. He asks, and these are a three-part question here, pretty much unrelated three parts. The first, are ERHC's rights in Block 5 of the JDZ still active, even though ERHC was not named in the PSC from the JDA, that's Joint Development Authority, news release? The second part question, are there joint venture partners working with ERHC regarding the PSC in Blocks 4 and 11 of the EEZ for the purpose of block development? And the third part from Jim Bent, when do you project first test drilling in both Chad and Kenya?
Okay, in Block 5, as our shareholders will recall, we have a slight issue of legal significance there. So several years ago, a former CEO of this company wrote some correspondence, entered into some correspondence with the JDA, which the JDA interprets as being a relinquishment. The ERHC says nothing like that occurred, that what it was protesting was the capacity of certain parties in the block. And so to resolve that issue, which is entirely contractual, the matter was taken to arbitration as provided by our contract, and also there was a legal suit filed by ERHC on a certain technical legal matter regarding the blocks. While those legal proceedings were pending, ERHC commenced a process of discussion, negotiation with the JDA and with the host government regarding amicable resolution. Resolution has not yet been reached, even though a series of negotiations and rounds have been held. And so ERHC's rights in Blocks 5 and 6 were suspended as far as signing the PSC was concerned. So our rights are yet in limbo until we determine that. We've given detail of that in our 10Qs and 10Ks, and we encourage our shareholders to look at that for the specific detail on that. As far as the JV with partners in Blocks 4 and 11 of the EEZ is concerned, we do not yet have joint venture partners. However, several credible international deep offshore operators have, at ERHC's invitation, visited a data room set up jointly by a company called PGS and the government of Sao Tome and Principe. Varying levels of interest have been expressed. Discussions continue, but at the moment, no definitive joint venture has been entered into. If a definitive joint venture is entered into, we will, as usual, inform our shareholders promptly. On when we can expect first drilling in Kenya and Chad, I'll turn that question over to Mr. Van Mechelen for Chad and to Dr. Thuo for Kenya.
Sure, thank you, Peter. When it comes to drilling, the start of drilling campaign in Chad, one of the things that we need to realize that Chad has a dry season and a rainy season. Any activity on land can only be carried out in a time period which is about mid-November to the latest of mid-March. So that immediately constrains timing of activities. Before we can actually do anything in Chad as far as starting our seismic program, initially we have to do an environmental assessment study. So again, given the fact that at this point in time we're still in the wet season, the areas cannot be properly accessed, we'll have to wait for the dry season to start. So as soon as November rolls around, we hope to indicate to the environmental assessment companies which area we're interested in to shooting our seismic, they'll do an environmental assessment study, and then if that is approved, more than likely we're looking again at entering the rainy season. So in answer to your question, when will we potentially start drilling, that of course depends on when we have finished our seismic acquisition. So first we'll have to do our seismic acquisition, which we now anticipate then to probably start. The following dry season will be November 2013. And following that successful campaign and hopefully being able to identify drillable prospect, at the earliest we anticipate to be able to drill in the dry season of 2014. For Kenya, I turn it over to Peter.
Yeah, thanks. Our PSC commitment for Block 11A in Kenya, the work program for the initial 2-year period mainly would focus on gravity magnetics as well as 2D seismic acquisition. The first additional exploration period, again, of 2 years, we have the option of either acquiring 3D seismics or drilling the first well. So potentially we could be drilling the first well in the first additional exploration period. That will be in the year 2015 to 2016. But the most likely scenario is that in 2015-2016 we will actually acquire 3D seismics and move our first well to 2017-2018, which is the second additional exploration period. Thank you.
Dan?
Yes, we have, Peter, we've been at this for just over an hour. We've got really what amounts to one question. 2 different shareholders have submitted it, so I'll go to that, and then we can wrap up. Does that sound appropriate?
Okay.
Okay. The question, first I'm going to read the question submitted by Dikran Gurgarian, and a very similar question, but slightly different, was submitted also by Edward Felsenthal, and it goes like this. This is from Dikran. What kind of careful thought will be placed on determining the strike price of the stock rights? Do you have an advisor to assist you in making sure that the stock rights do not have the same adverse impact on the recent shelf registration has had based on the issuance of those warrants? A similar question from Edward is, I have some limited funds I am anxious to invest that I want to make sure go to ERHC for the work program in return for shares. I don't want to simply make a trade where my cash goes to another shareholder or market maker. How do I do that? And then finally, Peter, Dick Ran also added one other thing. He says, Mr. Natefe is doing an excellent job answering these questions. I appreciate the extra effort that has been made in this conference call for the minority shareholders. I just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dick. Yet another one who follows the ERHC actively, and we thank you for your interest and continued support, Dick. For the strike price, ERHC is always very, very well advised, not just does corporate governance require it, but an inherent sense of responsibility towards our shareholders requires that we take expert advice every time something as fundamental as this is done. So ERHC has very good advice and will be well advised on determining the strike price by financial and legal experts. As for the shelf registration, we continue to emphasize that shelf registration was carried out at a time when there was the supervening effect of the less than exciting news from the JDZ. We can't run away from that fact that happened at a time when ERHC was experiencing the effects of the news from the JDZ, which disappointed the market and our shareholders in no small way entirely. And that placement at the time was very necessary. It was a critical time in our business development where governments and people who are making bids were asking, well, what's your capacity to raise money for exploration? And it had to be demonstrated. If not, you probably wouldn't have got the assets upon which we are trying to predicate our growth now. One of the main things that you have to show when you're applying for new assets is financial capability. And because we're a public company, all our affairs are open to the world. Any civil servant in front of a computer screen in Africa can know ERHC's financial status at any particular point in time. So it was very, very critical that we demonstrate that we are able to raise funds from the market back in the U.S., and so we'll be able to fund our exploration programs if these assets that we're applying for are granted us. For the question on funds to invest in the company, that is the sentiment that I think this company welcomes, because what we're trying to do with the rights issue is to ensure that we attract the funds of our existing shareholders into the company itself to make those funds available for the company to expand on its work programs that are expected to add value to the company itself and to its assets. And the simple answer then will be to please watch out for the rights issue and to participate as much as your funds and enthusiasm for this company will enable you to. Thank you.
Okay, Peter. Well, I think that can end our call. I'll turn it over to you for any final thoughts.
Yes, again, we want to thank our shareholders. We want to thank investors in ERHC and all those who are interested in and follow this company. ERHC is about to embark on fundamental steps which we want to progress this company to take us closer to where we want the company to be. We will count on the support of our shareholders. We want shareholders to please refer to the company for accurate information. The nature of a public company is that sometimes its affairs might be interpreted wrongly or be subject to rumors and inaccurate information. We've set up the means by which this company can be contacted at any time. Mr. Kinney's details are available. We will look forward to a lot of interaction in the coming weeks leading up to our shareholder meeting. We also expect to see as many shareholders as possible at that meeting. We are grateful for all your support. We are grateful for your criticism. We are grateful for your comments. And we look forward to working together. It's a collegiate thing. It's not just for management or the board. It's the management, the board, and the shareholders working together as one towards progressing this company and meeting and surmounting the significant challenges that it faces like every other E&P company in this high-risk but high-reward business. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dan. Thank you to the members of the management of ERHC who have taken part in this call. And thank you, of course, to the audience, our shareholders, and those who have participated in the call. Thank you.
And Anthony, I don't know if there's any further instructions, but I imagine people can just disconnect now.
Thank you. This does conclude today's teleconference. We thank you for your participation. You may disconnect your lines at this time and have a great day.